Hey guys, my name's Phil. I'm an Android developer working here in Toronto. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about just some tips that I've used in the past to promote any Android app that you've written, whether it be for a company you work for, or if you're on your own and you're an indie developer, you just need some help getting word about your app out there. This is by no means an exhaustive list, but this is stuff that I've done in the past that has worked for me. So hopefully some of it can work for you as well. You can follow me on Twitter if you like, but really all I do is retweet links to quotes. So if you're into that, go for it. So generally, when I make an app and try to tell people about it, I always feel like this. Like I feel like kind of sleazy, like kind of especially like I run into a situation pretty often where if I'm kind of talking to family or at like a party or something, talking to someone like, oh, what do you do? And I say, oh, I'm an Android developer, and they say, okay, like, oh, what apps do you make? And so I tell them, and I think they're getting really excited about it, and so I get excited because I'm like sensing a new download. And then at the end, I'm like, it's like, oh yeah, it's free. Like this is the name, blah blah blah, and they're like, cool. And they just kind of stare at you, and they don't pull out your phone. They don't pull out their phone to download it. It's really upsetting. So anyway, fortunately, there are some other ways that you can get people to download your app. So, I mean, it's generally never something that I've really enjoyed. I found it like it can be really hard to get people to download your app. It's also really annoying, it's really bothering people. But I mean, generally speaking, like so generally speaking, I mean, the more installs you have and the higher ratings that you have will generally equal more installs. That just kind of goes in a cycle. And so it can be hard to make your app stand out because I mean Google will tell you about how many millions or billions of apps exist. So especially if your app is something that it's not the only one, not the single app in a certain niche area. Like it can be hard to get people to live here specifically. But I mean there are lots of tools and tips that you can use to make it a little easier. So the first one is something that was announced last year, I think, at I/O, just app indexing. So essentially what you're doing is you can add your app to Google Search Index, which means that it can show up in mobile search results, and which is really handy because if someone is searching for something that your app does, your app can pop up in a search result with them never even going to the Play Store. And it shows up with a little install card that lets them, and the name of the app is, and the what its rating is, and how many reviews it has, that kind of thing. Now this actually happened to me yesterday, so I thought it was a pretty good example. Has anyone ever heard of TACROC? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but has anyone ever heard of it? So it's a sport that apparently is really popular in Southeast Asia, and I had no idea. So I have a friend who's traveling to Cambodia, and they were telling me that like, oh, I'm watching TACROC on TV, and I'm like, okay, what is this? So I'm like, I didn't know what the hell it was. So I Googled it, and first thing, okay, was the Wikipedia entry, and what it is, it's actually like kick volleyball. It's people playing volleyball just with their feet, which is actually it's pretty crazy. Like, just look it up on YouTube, you guys are nuts, crazy athletes. But anyway, so the first thing is what it is, and the second thing was actually a game, like on the Play Store, where so someone has made a TACROC game. It's in the index that shows up in the Play Store, and I could have installed it and like gone right from there. And I thought about it, but it would have made me much less productive, so I decided not to. But that happened to me, and I was like, wow, that's exactly like it's exactly sort of what this indexing is. And so another example, specifically on an app that I've worked on, there's sort of two ways to get your app in the index. One is that you can add it yourself, or you can, if your app is sort of popular enough, or I'm imagining, I don't know how Google does it, but Google indexes apps on their own as well. So if your app is popular enough, it can get added into the index on its own, where you don't actually have to do anything, it just shows up as well. But for example, on an app I've worked on, which it's pretty small. It's only, I think there's only about 300 downloads, so it would not be in the index if I hadn't added it. Same sort of thing. It shows up in the listing. you search for it, and then if you already have the app installed and you click on it, or when you search for it, it now gives you, instead of the install card on the left, it gives you a little card saying the app is installed, and if you touch it, it actually takes you directly into the app, as opposed to sort of going to install it. And in another sort of instance, if your app is something that is a common sort of use case, it can be grouped with other ones. So, for example, if you look for a unit converter app, which is something or if you're looking for a unit converter, which is something you might do to use Google's unit converter on the top of their mobile search, for example. If you scroll down a little bit, and it's like, okay, well, here's a bunch of apps that do that, and maybe you want to have an app on your phone to do it instead of just doing it in the browser. And so, this is a really good way to make your app very discoverable, which is sort of what you're looking for, to get more installs and more ratings. So, how exactly do you do it? There's a couple of ways. The first thing is to sort of just link. If you have a website, like if your company's a website, or you have a website on your own that's related to your app, you basically link the website with your app in Google Search Console. It takes about 30 seconds. It's really easy. You just link your website URL with the package name that your app has in the Play Store. And then you have to approve the link, or like whoever owns the website has to approve the link, and then you're good to go. And I think there's a sort of a waiting period, but then at some point it gets put in the index and it can be discovered in search results if someone searches for your website or your product name, for example. And then to sort of in the previous slide, if you actually click on the app link, in order for it to go into the activity or into the actual app itself, when you actually have the app installed, that's just a simple sort of, you add an intent filter in your manifest to the activity that you want to open when someone clicks on it in the listing. And so yeah, that's also like really easy. There's a really good code lab for that can sort of walk through the process. I have a link for it a little later, but that's something to it really doesn't take a whole lot of time to set up, and it's something that really helps make your app more discoverable. Now, if your app doesn't have a website, you can submit app-only content as well. That's a different process. There's a form that you have to fill out, and just say, okay, like I'd like to add my app to the index, please let me, essentially. And I guess they sort of review it, and then if it's approved, then then just your app will be in it and not linked to any website whatsoever. And as I mentioned, like Google does index apps on their own as well. So another app I've worked on was in the index, but by no work of mine, just because it got in there through Google's own, I guess, crawling and indexing. So for more info on this, I'll obviously make the slides available, but there's two links here. One is, since I last week, it's now been rebranded as Firebase app indexing. And so that's just the documentation on how to actually do this. As I said, it's not really too difficult. It's something you can do in the span of 10 minutes. And then there's a really good code lab that sort of explains how, this is from sort of the Android side of things, how to get or what code you need to do in the Android app to make this work. And the code lab takes about 15-20 minutes, really easy. But yeah, it's just something to. This is just a great way to get your app to be discovered, and it doesn't really require too much work. So another thing that I've used successfully in the past is app promo codes. So this has been around for about a year, I think. And essentially, what this lets you do is, if your user or if your app is a paid app, it lets you create promo codes to give away to users to let them install the app for free, as opposed to and they install through the Play Store, but instead of in the little window where you normally would enter your credit card information or whatever, you can click redeem and enter the promo code that I've given you instead, and then you're able to download it, no problem. This also works for in-app purchases as well. And just from a strategic point of view, this is a good way to sort of drive initial installs. It sort of lowers the the initial kind of barrier to entry where, let's say your app's a paid app and, whatever, it's $1, $2, or whatever, you might have some trouble getting some initial installs if you have sort of no installs, no ratings, etc. People might be a little more reluctant to pick it up. So this is a good way to sort of, obviously you're using it on the initial run, but it's a good way to get things going. Sort of kickstart things and get some initial ratings. And these are managed in the Google Play Developer Console, which I'm sure we're all very familiar with. And you can create 500 promo codes per app per quarter. So I guess 2,000 a year. So hopefully, $2,000 or 2,000. The money you get from 2,000 apps, but you can if you like. And so to actually set this up, this is just a screenshot from the developer console. You can see on the left. It's just one of the tabs is promotions. So you can create a new promotion, you just give it a name, whatever you want to call it, and then you sort of run a start and end date as to when the promo codes will be valid. You specify whether it's a paid app or if it's an in-app purchase that exists in your app. If it's an in-app purchase, you just supply the purchase ID or the product ID, sorry. And then you can specify how many codes you want to generate in that last little box you can create. And this is a CSV file that you can download with just a list of promo codes, which you can then distribute however you like and to whoever you like to sort of get things going. So another thing that Google lets you do is create a developer page. And so this is not a bad way to sort of promote your apps as well as your brand or yourself, whether it be your company or just you. And essentially what it is it's a landing page for your Android app. So I'm sure if we all go into the, if you search for a developer in the Play Store, you sort of get that generic page which just has all the apps they developed in a single line, which is fine. But I guess this makes it a little nicer. And this is again something that's managed in the developer console, just like the promo codes. So just to give you an example of what this looks like, here's the one for Retweeting. So instead of just getting that little thing there, you have, they have their logo, they have some image of pigs and birds and stuff in the background. They've got a little blurb about who they are. And then if you scroll down, it's got they've got a list of all their apps at the bottom, and that's normally what you would just see in the if you search for a developer in the Play Store. And then they also have an opportunity to feature one of their apps, which I guess to be able to draw attention to sort of immediately. So you have a bigger card, a video if you're a passive video sort of thing. And so whether if you're a company that has sort of if you offer a few apps in the Play Store, this is sort of a nice way to sort of promote what you're doing. And if you're an independent developer, it's also can be used quite effectively. I'm sure some of you here know there's a guy named Roman Eric. He works for Google. He's got a few apps available in the Play Store that I believe they're all open source as well. But so this is something that he's done just for himself. So this is also something. This is as a side note. If you are an indie developer, this is a nice way to sort of set up a bit of a portfolio for yourself for a job, or if you're a contractor looking for your next your next thing to do. This is a nice way to just display what you've done and who you are and what you've worked on. And so sort of like the same sort of setup as what we saw before. And so again, this is really easy to set up. Again, it's done through the developer console in the settings page. You just sort of enter in your promotional text, your website if you have one. For me, the hardest part of this would be getting the graphic assets because I'm pretty lost when it comes to that kind of stuff. But you just need a developer icon and one of those header images, and then you just select what app you want to feature, and you're done. So if you have the assets, this can be done again in the span of a couple minutes, and then you're good to go. And it's just a good way to I guess just a good way to sort of promote what exactly you're up to. So another way to promote your app, which is a good one, is just through word of mouth. So Whether this be you telling people to download, like you begging them to download it, or actual users of your apps telling their friends about it because they think, okay, like this is something that a friend of mine would like. And so one way you can do this, I mean, one way you can obviously do this is go into the Play Store, find the app you're looking for, go find the share button, then you go through the sharing dialog, you say how you want to share it with who, and all that kind of thing, and you kind of can do it one at a time, which is fine. Like if you want to share it to one specific person, and that'll certainly work. What the app invites do, which have also been rebranded as Firebase app invites since I.O. last week, what app invites allow you to do is from inside your app specifically, you can send an invite to any number of people in your contacts, thinking that send them a personalized invite if you like to download the app yourself, saying, hey, I think this is something that you might actually like. And if you make this easy enough in your app for them to do, where it doesn't really require a lot of work on their part, this is something that could really work. And to actually get this going again is not too much work on your part. Generally speaking, you create an app invite invitation intent. You have to include the Firebase sort of repo in your app with Gradle in your Gradle file, and then you can generate an app invite invitation intent where you specify any sort of personalized info you want to send, and then you send that off with a start activity for result, and then that will open up a dialog which lets you share it with people, which I'll show you in just a second. And on if you do have when the user downloads the app, so usually in the on create of whatever is the launcher activity of your app, you can do this app invite API.getInvitation method, which just checks to see if the person who has installed your app installed it from an invitation that somebody has sent. And if they have, then you can add, you can pull out any sort of personalized information they've sent and give that user, I guess just more of like a custom onboarding message, like say, hey, Phil thought you would like this, good for you for downloading it. But I mean, if it's
Hello, sorry to interrupt. I saw the Google I/O presentations last week, but wasn't necessarily clear to me what Firebase activities were free and what you had to pay for. App invites are free, and maybe you could clarify if that's going to.
Yeah, sure. So the question was just if what specific parts of Firebase are free. I don't know 100%. As far as I know, the two that I've talked about, the app indexing is free for sure. As far as the app invites, I'm not quite sure, but I believe they are. From what I read and what I investigated, I didn't see anywhere where it said sign up for a subscription plan or something like that. So, just sort of how this looks exactly is this is an example taken from the Google website. So, say that they've written like looks like a food delivery app, and at the bottom there you can see that they've got an invite friends button, and so they've made it just sort of really easy to okay, so you press that button, and then what that does is that takes you to the screen on the right where when you fire off that app invitation activity, or from what I understand, when you fire that activity off, it shows this share dialog where you can enter any sort of personalized message. And then it suggests like a few contacts, as they like to do, of who you might want to send it to. And you can pick them, or you can pick whoever you like, and you just click the send button in the top right, and off it goes. And so it might be a little hard to see, but in the beside each person's name here, they've got specifically what method of sharing you're doing, whether it be email or text. And so this can be something that, if you make this easy enough for the people using your app and they really like your app, this is something that, they might think, hey, I've got some people that I think would like this, let me tell them about it. And it's a lot easier than sort of going through the Play Store and sort of doing that whole process yourself where you have to find a link and click share and all that, or just say, hey, download this app, and then they're certainly not going to do it because that requires a lot of work on their part because they have to go find it. And then, so just some other tips as well. There's a book that Google's released called Secrets to App Success on Google Play. This is available for free in the Play Store, like through Google Books. It's about it's 8 chapters on various ways to make your app successful. There's actually a whole chapter on promotion, which are some of the things that in that chapter is talked about. Some of them I haven't. It's not bad. It's written in a it's written easily. Like each sort of chapter is it gives you a topic, and the topic's covered in like 1 or 2 pages, and everything's sort of very point form. It's not like a textbook or anything like that. So it's a really good reference. It's easy to quickly find what you're looking for, and it gives you links to find more information if it's a topic you're interested in. So I mean, it's something you can definitely check out and read like when you got on a computer or whatever. And then a couple of things that were talked about at I/O last week. One was bringing your app to Chromebooks. So they were talking about how Android apps will soon be able to be run on Chromebooks. So I mean, this is kind of a no-brainer just because it brings your app to a whole other platform that people can download it on. That link right there takes you to sort of the process of how to do that. Currently, from what I understand, currently it's not available, but this sort of gives you a checklist of how to make sure that your app is working, or that your app will be compatible with Chromebooks when it rolls out. And there's just sort of like there's a checklist of maybe like 3 or 4 things to just quickly check out. And then there's Android Instant Apps, which again is something that was announced last week at I/O. If you're not familiar, what it allows you to do is from the Google search result, for example, what we saw earlier, a user can actually see a certain page or certain info in your app without actually downloading your app, which is kind of crazy. So I think the example they gave was, say you make Yelp, say you have a restaurant app that you're looking for a restaurant recommendation. If you type in, like, say, the restaurant, one of the search results that might come up is your app and specifically the rating for that restaurant in your app. You click on it, and it downloads the code required to show the activity for that specific page you're looking for. So in that case, it would be like restaurant detail activity, for example. And it downloads that, and the user can actually see what your app looks like and see what that page is if they have the app on their phone. And then of course there's like a little install button in the top right if they like your app and they think, okay, this is cool, like let me get this. So this is something that is really cool, and it eliminates that initial barrier where if someone originally saw it, it's like, I don't want to download another app, I'd rather just read another web. So this actually gives them sort of a sneak peek of what your app is like without them actually having to download it. Again, this is not available yet, and Google's been a lot more vague about what exactly is involved from the development side and how to get this to work. They said, I believe their line was that they said that you may be able to get it working in less than a day. So I don't really know what that means. So that could be an hour, that could be 7 hours. I don't know. So, and at the moment it's not available for. You have to request access to actually get any of the info. So, as they like to do, they're working with specific partners to sort of roll this out. So you can follow that link and request access, and if they grant it, then great, and then you can sort of see what's involved, and then maybe you can tell me because I'm really curious. Another couple of things, just along the whole thing of more installs, more ratings equals more installs. Translating your app into other languages is, especially if you're on your own, like this can be something that is easy to overlook, and it's certainly something I was guilty of for a long time. But when I actually started translating my app, the feedback I got was very positive. Like I get a lot more people would actually mention it in reviews, like, oh, it's in my language, this is great, or I get email feedback saying, like, thank you so much for translating this is great. And so and there are a couple ways to do this. Google does offer translation services in the Play Developer Console, so you go and I'm sure we all know how this works. Basically, you can supply your strings XML file, and someone will translate it and then send it back to you. And I believe depending on the service you charge, they charge by the word. I believe, but if I'm wrong, maybe someone can clarify. But the other way to do this is get help from the community. And And this was something that I didn't know if there'd be much interest in, but it's worked out quite well for me. So in your app, if you just sort of have a little section where it says, you want to translate this for me? Like, get in touch. And I've had people reach out to me, and I've been able to translate it into Spanish, Portuguese, just had a guy who wants to do it in Croatian, German, and Russian, I believe. And these were all just people who got in touch with me and said, hey, I like your app. Do you want me to translate it for you? And I just give them the file, and they give it back to me, and all I do is take the file, they give it to me, and put it in the app, and I've got a new language. And so it's really easy, and it certainly helps with acquiring users that maybe speak the language specifically that you now can translate it into. And the last one is the nag to rate. So this is that little dialog that pops up when you're using an app that says, hey, you like this? Do me a favor and rate it. I've separate. This is a bit of a divisive issue. I have, my opinions on it kind of vary from time to time. But I heard someone sort of talk at a conference about this, and I think he made a really good point. Is that if you're providing an app that a user is using enough, and especially if it's a free app, it's not really all that unreasonable to ask them to take 30 seconds and maybe just give them give you a rating, especially if it's something that they're using fairly often. So the strategy that I've followed is, I think what I do is usually about every 30 times they open the app. So on the 30th time they open, I ask them to rate. And again, if they're using your app 30 times, chances are they like it. And so if they're using it 30 times and they like it, then they're probably not going to be too pissed at you if you ask them to rate it. So, and of course, you can have a little button in there that says, "Don't ever ask me again and leave me alone." But generally speaking, I was a bit hesitant to do this at first, but thought I'd get a bit of backlash. But when I started implementing it, the number of ratings I had did go up, and they were all very positive because there were people who were using it that wouldn't necessarily go out of their way on their own to rate it. But if you just kind of give them a bit of kick in the ass and say, "Hey, you want to do this for me?" then they'll do it, and it helps you. And I mean, it's like I said, if a user is using your app enough, then it's really not all that unreasonable to ask them. So now I'm just going to talk a little bit about just sort of things that are a little bit more platform agnostic and maybe not as effective as some of the other stuff I've mentioned, but still worth mentioning. So I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have seen there are some app discovery services that exist, specifically the ones that sort of exist that don't look just incredibly sketchy are Apparatus, and there's one called Free App Today. So generally, what these do is you put them on your phone, and they give you a notification every day saying like, hey, there's this paid app that's available for you for free today. They also do it. They also will promote free apps if they think they're worthwhile. So and if you have these apps and you sort of dig around, there will be like sort of a submit area where you can submit your own app, for example. Now this can really work because it gets your app in front of a whole bunch of people that might never even look for it. Like they might never even think they need one that does whatever specifically yours does, but because it's being thrown in their face, they're like, oh, that's cool. So, and this actually happened to me. Like one of the apps I worked on, mine got featured in Appgrass about 3 years ago, and I had no idea that it was even in there. And I went to bed one night, and then the next morning I had like 35 emails from people saying like, with various support requests or various questions on what is going on. And then I look in the span of a day, my number of total installs I had doubled, and I had no idea why. And then later I found out that it had been featured in this, and I guess someone had recommended it, and it got in, and it kind of changed the whole progression of the app because it kind of kick-started that initial install that started showing up higher in like the Google search results and everything, or in the Play Store search results. So it's something that if you can make it work, it can really help you out. Another thing that I've used is Reddit. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. This has worked really well for me as well. So a couple different ways you can do this. Generally, I like to do it as it's a mix of promoting your app and also simultaneously asking for feedback. So And you know, so whether you do it in our Android or our Android apps, you just you say like, hey, I just made this app. Would you mind downloading it? And I'd love some feedback. Like anything you have to say would be great. And generally speaking, I mean, Reddit can be a bit of a danger zone, but generally speaking, the feedback has always been extremely constructive. I mean, not necessarily always positive, but extremely constructive. No one's trying to be mean; they're trying to help you. And so, this also, I've seen this work really well with promotion codes, which is what I mentioned earlier, where you can say, like, say your app is a paid app. I saw this with a watch face the other day, for example. Someone said, hey, I made this watch face. Here's 50 promo codes. So the first 50 people get this for free. And you know what? Could you download it and maybe just do me a favor and rate it? You know, and so like so they download it and you know, now they have this watch face and they do you a favor and they give you a rating. And this sort of kickstarts sort of initial installs as well as initial ratings. And then they also offer feedback and they say, hey, it's great. You know, maybe you could change the color or something or do this. So it's kind of a bit of a mutually beneficial situation that's worked out really well for a lot of people I know and me specifically. And specifically our Android's a good one. Our Android apps is a good one. Android Dev will work, but they have a rule where you can only promote your app if it's open source. But if your app is open source and you want to get some feedback on it, then go for it. And then the last thing is just, you know, self-promotion, which is usually like the least fun, but I mean it does work. So I mean you've made an app and you're like, okay, like I got my email list of all my friends and family that use Android and say, hey, like, would you mind downloading this and give it 5 stars? And so I mean, they're your friends and family, so it's pretty safe because they're probably going to, you know, at least you're not going to get all of them doing it, but a large number probably will to help you out. And then, I mean, obviously you can do something. You can promote yourself on Facebook, Twitter. You know, if you're one of like the 8 people that use Google Plus, same thing. And I mean that works too. I mean, it's not going to. It may necessarily not be sustainable, but it's something that can kickstart things, and then. It's like once you get this kickstart going, that's when you just want to get this sort of snowball thing where you get the more installs, more reviews, and you'll just get more and more of them. And then finally, like all the major Android blogs have like a tip section where they're like, okay, is there a cool app here? Like, tip us off, let us know. And I mean, because you're helping them out, because you're giving them info about something that exists. And this, I mean, this is kind of in a way can be very difficult. I mean, like they see a ton of apps, and it can be difficult specifically for them to, I mean, who knows if they can read the things, but I mean, at least you're giving it a shot. And if they do like it, they usually will write something about it. I mean, I've read countless entries on all of these that it's like, oh, hey, I found this app, it's really cool, check it out. And this has actually worked for me as well. I had one of the apps I worked on was featured in an Australian Android blog. And it was just there was actually just the company that is Australian, and so the whole when we sort of notified them about this app, there was a bit of a connection. They're like, okay, well, these guys are local. Like, your app is cool. You guys are local. I'm just going to write something small about it just to promote like sort of local devs and the work they're doing. So it's if you can find some sort of connection with whoever you're emailing, that'll obviously help. But yeah, it's worked for me in the past, and it's something that's worth a shot for sure. So that's all I have. Hopefully, some of these tips were helpful for you. There's stuff that's worked for me. If you have any questions, feel free, or if you have any promotion tips on your own or of your own, please let me know because I'd love to know them. And thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Had any experience with paid promotion?
So the question was, have I had any experience with paid promotion? Me specifically, no. I've always tried to go the non-paid route, but in terms of paid, I mean, like, there's obviously like, taking out ads. Like, there are Android websites that you can buy reviews and buy like where you can, give them $100 or whatever, and they'll write a review. review for your app. I've never actually done that. To me, it always seemed a little sketchy, but it's something that exists and you can do as well. I just haven't had any experience with it.
Well, this is one thing that worked for me. You can embed your +1 button within your app. So what it does is you don't have to go out of your app. Just one click, and all your friends will see.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a really good idea. Yeah. So in case I'm here, it's just like the Google ++1 button. You can embed that in the app, so they can basically like it right from the app instead of going to Google Plus. Yeah, really good idea.
How do the app invites? I didn't quite catch. If somebody installs it as a result of the invitation, what is like the UI they see that says thank you? Like, is it do you decide?
Yeah, so from what I understand, it's something that you decide yourself. So in that, when you, so basically in whatever sort of your launcher activity is, there's that check where you do to see if it came from an invite. And if it came from an invite, I believe in that invite there's some information sent with it that you have put in the original intent, like the app invite intent. And then you can pull that information out and display it, for example. So say something like, Phil thinks you'd like this app, but it's something you have to do on your own. Yeah, like you have to recognize it and sort of create that custom experience yourself.
What percentage of non-English users are you getting? Like when you're doing the translations, what ratio are you getting of English versus non-English?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I can track. Yeah, no, I don't know offhand.
Like significant. You said it's significant.
Yeah, like I got so like I guess the app that I did specifically, it's got about 600,000 users, and once we did the translation, and so I usually get like say 10, say I get 10 emails a day, like on various things. I started getting about, once I translated to German, which was the first thing I did, I started getting 1 to 2 a day. From people specifically using the German version, so is that 10%, I guess? So, yeah, I guess that's just a quick